This is Stacey McKibben with the Master Communicator podcast, where CEOs, senior leaders, and C-suite executives share their advice. It's 6 questions in 9 minutes because the best leaders know how to share their ideas concisely and quickly. Let's jump right in. Question number 1. In a few sentences, tell me who you are and what you do.
Great, thank you. I'm Karin Childress. I am the Executive Director of Randstad's Veteran Center of Excellence. I've been in the talent acquisition space for 20-something years, but it has been my passion to focus on employment for veterans and military spouses for most of that career. And so what I do is I work across our business units and with our clients and help them develop strategies to hire veterans, promote veterans, career path veterans, train veterans, military spouses.
That sounds incredibly rewarding, to get up every day and make a difference like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for that contribution. I know we need that support.
Sure.
Question 2, what's the best thing about leading people from your perspective?
I think the best thing about leading people is getting to walk with them on some part of their journey, right? Every person is going, starting at a different place and going to a different location. And when you lead people, you get to be on that path. And some of my favorite employees are folks that, have risen to ranks that are above where I'm at right now. And so sometimes the journey is in parallel for a while and sometimes they go different directions, but that's really my favorite part, is being on the path with my employees.
Do you find that you get to learn a little bit too with them and, as part of that growth, as it's not just them, but it's you too?
Well, absolutely. Whether it's something big or something small, right? There's something to learn from everybody and we're in this together.
I love that. All right, question 3, one of my favorites. It's a fun question. I often hear from other leaders that business would be great if it weren't for that pesky people part. I'm curious, what do you think about that?
I just don't agree with that. I think business would be great if it wasn't for that pesky travel part. And, thankfully we get to take a little bit of a break from that. It's the people that I really enjoy, not just the employees, but the clients and the folks that make the client engagement successful. That's the good part. And I don't agree that people are the pesky part.
I know the people really do make the world go round, right? I think sometimes it's like it adds the texture, the color to life as opposed to just being always black and white, because that's one thing you count with people, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's the flight delays and the cram seats and the misconnections. That's definitely the pesky part.
I would agree with that. What piece of advice about communication would you give to other leaders? If you had a group here right now and you could, grab their attention, what would you tell them?
There's a lot been made of communication styles. What type of communicator are you? What type of leader do you want to be? And I think that's important. We need to know who we are. And so my first piece of advice is to really understand you and the way you communicate and who you are and who you want to be. But communication is not one size fits all. And so when you're working with teams, employees, clients, you need to make that communication match the person you're communicating with. And so you need to be, I don't know if the chameleon is the right word, but the ability you need to have the ability to communicate with different people in the way they need to be communicated with. And I think anybody who's married knows what I'm talking about, right? You have to be able to morph your style, the way you're communicating, to fit the way the person you're talking to can receive that information.
Yeah, that flexibility is incredibly important, right?
Mm-hmm.
I heard a great phrase today, something about like, don't get lazy in your language, which I thought that was really great.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Question number 5 for you. What other successful business leaders like yourself should be on the podcast? I'm really looking here as what other, leaders or community members or things like that are you paying attention to, or how do you choose who to pay attention to?
Yeah. So 2 years ago, I made a commitment to myself that I wasn't going to go to the same conferences, the same meetings, and allow myself to say the same words. That I was going to say something new, unique, and a new contribution, or I wasn't going to say anything at all. So I focus on people that are out there in the community saying something different. It doesn't matter if I agree or disagree. I'm looking for the people that are talking about things in a different way. Specifically in the veteran employment space, That would be somebody like a Mike Quinn, who's out there on LinkedIn and other places really challenging people to think about veteran employment, to go beyond the moral imperative, which I think we've gotten stuck in a little bit, and to think about imperative and the business reasons to hire veterans. And what Mike really talks about is back to the veteran, making them think about their business reason for being involved in that conversation too, right? And somebody else that I really think I look to and I listen to is Greg Pagliari. He's the president of Randstad Technologies. He's a former Marine, and he has just found this really incredible way to lead people. I can tell when he's drawing on his military experience, especially in this time of crisis. He's shown tremendous leadership through these challenging times. And I can sort of put pins in places where I think he's pulling from his military experience. But he's also been in the staffing world a long time and is a really phenomenal leader in the business side of running a staffing company. And he's somebody not only that I look up to, but I look to when I'm wanting to try to assess the tone or the direction that I think we all need to be headed in.
Well, those are some great examples, and thank you for sharing even, why you might go out there and look for different, alternate perspectives, and how that adds value to your overall view of, what's important for you to prioritize and what to do next.
Sure.
All right. Magic question number 6 for you. Tell us about your favorite boss or teacher. Who's really influenced you?
Well, so I've had a lot of great bosses. I don't know that I could pin down my absolute favorite boss, but I'll tell you the best experience I ever had with a boss. And it really is related to being a military spouse. So I think sometimes we expect to be in these, employee manager or employee boss relationships and really stay in that, employee employer feel the entire time. The best experience I ever had with a boss is when he really took the time to understand who I was as a human, not just as an employee, and understood that as a military spouse, while my husband was deployed, I had some unique situations going on. And we were in a client meeting and my phone rang and it was coming in from overseas. So it was clear that it was my husband calling. And I felt this moment of panic thinking I was going to have to decide between client, revenue, and getting to talk to my husband when I wasn't sure when he might call again. And this boss made that decision for me because he answered my phone. And that was just that real human, he understands who I am, he understands what matters to me. And knowing that, getting to make that connection put me on a path to continue forward in this client engagement in a different way than I would have if I had missed that call. And so that was my absolute favorite moment from one of my favorite bosses.
Oh, I have to say, you've really touched me with that one. I mean, I get that. That really does demonstrate just the power of understanding, the human side of these business relationships that we're in, and just how a small thing like that could just have such a wow impact.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I mean, seriously, you've been a fantastic guest, and I just love all your insights and incredibly articulate. How can people find you if they want to reach out and say hi? I mean, would they check you out on LinkedIn, a website, an email? Yeah. What's the best way to contact you?
Yeah, definitely on LinkedIn. And you can find me easily there. I'm hyphenated. I guess that's the only complication. Karin Childress Wiley on LinkedIn. Happy to connect there. I list my contact information on my LinkedIn profile, so you can find ways to reach out to me through LinkedIn. And I've loved being on the show. This is a great conversation. Had a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Well, again, thank you so much.
Sure.
And this is Stacey McKibben with the Master Communicator podcast. For more ideas and insights, please do go check us out at www.concilioteam.com. We look forward to seeing you again next time. Take care.